cold air presses against the trees as a man stands alone in the snow, staring at a steel bear trap clenched around a massive paw, knowing that every step closer could end his life or save another life today. The bear is silent, except for breath turning white, its body tense with pain and fear. And the man understands the trap was set illegally, yet the law feels distant compared to the moment before him, right here in time. He checks the frozen ground, the dark woods, and the cloudy sky, measuring risks he cannot calculate, because bears do not forgive mistakes, and winter does not slow blood or panic. In moments like this, fear speaks louder than reason. The trap is old, rusted, and heavy, the kind designed to hold animals until humans arrive. And the man knows that whoever placed it expected suffering, distance, and silence to finish the job, without witnesses, without mercy, without consequence here. He pulls his gloves tighter, feeling the ache in his fingers, and thinks about turning back, about calling authorities, about the hours it might take, and what could happen before anyone arrives, as cold wind moves through the valley slowly. The bear shifts slightly, snow falling from its fur, metal scraping ice, and the sound cuts through the quiet forest, reminding the man that time is not neutral, and waiting is already a choice with consequences he cannot undo later. He speaks softly, though he knows the bear cannot understand words, only tone, only distance, and the promise that no immediate harm is coming, if such a promise can exist between predator and human in freezing woods like these now. His breath shakes as he steps closer, heart loud in his ears, watching the bear's eyes track him, dark and alert, ready to fight or flee, restrained only by cruel steel biting into flesh, cold and fear, held together here. There is no hero feeling in him, only a heavy sense of responsibility, because walking away would be safer, easier, and defensible. Yet staying feels like the only honest option left under these conditions, this sky, this silence, today, now. He kneels slowly, testing the snow, setting his pack down, and reveals simple tools meant for repair, not rescue, wondering if preparation matters when fear and chance control the outcome in moments like this, alone, exposed, and irreversible somehow here. The bear growls low, a warning more than a threat, and the man freezes, hands raised, breathing shallow, feeling the fragile line between calm and chaos tighten with every second passing, slowly, loudly inside his chest, head, and shaking knees. He remembers stories of people hurt trying to help, reminders that good intentions do not stop teeth or claws, and he forces himself to move with patience instead of urgency, despite fear, despite instinct, despite winter's pressure closing in fast. The cold deepens as clouds thicken, muting light, and the forest feels smaller, closer, as if watching, while the man positions himself near the trap, careful not to trigger it further with sudden movement, noise, panic, or haste today alone. He studies the metal jaws, the spring, the pressure, recalling diagrams and advice half remembered, knowing mistakes here could mean shattered bones or worse for either of them in this isolated place, hours from help, warmth, certainty, or forgiveness now. The bear's breathing quickens, frost forming on whiskers, and the man pauses, waiting, allowing space, because forcing trust is impossible, and survival depends on restraint as much as courage when facing pain, fear, and unknown reactions in wild moments like these. A faint sound of wind through branches fills the silence, and somewhere deeper in the woods, something moves, unseen, reminding him that he is not alone out here, with instincts, risks, watchers, and consequences layered quietly around this fragile scene. He adjusts his stance, careful with weight, and reaches toward the trap, stopping inches away, testing the bear's response, ready to pull back if tension explodes into violence, panic, motion, sound, pain, loss, or irreversible disaster for both lives here. The bear watches him closely, muscles tight, eyes unblinking, and in that shared stillness, the man feels a strange connection, not friendship, but recognition of fear mirrored between two creatures caught by chance, cold, and human choices made earlier somewhere. Snow begins to fall again, light at first, settling on shoulders and fur, softening edges, as if the world is trying to slow everything down, urging patience without speaking to either of them in this moment, suspended, fragile, and cold. The man feels time stretch, each breath counted, each movement deliberate, aware that this attempt may fail, and that failure would not be dramatic, just quiet and final in the snow, leaving marks no one sees, remembers, or explains later. He tightens his grip on the tool, feeling its cold bite, and prepares to act, knowing that once he starts, hesitation could be worse than making the wrong decision at this stage, with limited control, limited time, and limited safety.
The forest remains indifferent, trees unmoving, snow falling, offering no guidance, no judgment, and no guarantee, while the man takes one more steadying breath before crossing a line he cannot uncross, defined by action, consequence, and uncertainty alone, here, now. He glances once more at the bear's face, memorizing the tension there, because if things go wrong, this look will stay with him longer than any scar he might carry through nights, questions, dreams, doubt, and winter memories ahead, forever. The air feels heavier as he leans in, tool poised, aware that the next seconds will define everything that follows, for both lives bound together by this trap hidden beneath snow, law, and choices made far away, long ago, carelessly. And just as he begins to apply pressure, the bear makes a sudden movement, not attacking, not fleeing, but something unexpected, forcing the man to pause again, unsure what it means for trust, danger, or survival in this frozen moment. The bear's movement is slow, deliberate, not the violent charge the man feared, but a shift of weight that sends a tremor through the trap and into the ground beneath them both. Snow scatters, metal creaks. The man pulls his hands back instantly, heart racing, waiting for the explosion that does not come. Instead, the bear settles again, lowering its head, breath coming fast, eyes never leaving him. The pause feels fragile, like thin ice holding just long enough to matter. The man stays still, counting his breaths, reminding himself that sudden motion would turn fear into instinct and instinct into harm. He speaks again, quietly, not to explain, but to soften the space between them, letting the sound exist without expectation. The bear's ears twitch. That small reaction feels important, though he knows it could mean nothing at all. Minutes pass like hours. Cold creeps deeper into his knees and wrists as he remains crouched, careful not to rush what cannot be rushed. He studies the trap again, tracing its shape with his eyes instead of his hands. The jaws are locked tight, pressure unforgiving, designed for strength, not mercy. He recognizes the model now, older than newer regulations, something that should not still be here. That knowledge brings a flicker of anger, but he pushes it aside. Anger has no use here. Precision does. Patience does. He adjusts his position slightly, testing how close he can be without provoking a response. The bear lifts its head again, nostrils flaring, scenting him, the metal, the air. Its body remains tense, but there is no lunge, no roar, just watchfulness. The man reaches slowly into his pack, every movement announced by the soft scrape of fabric, careful not to surprise. He takes out a long metal bar, simple and worn, something he has used before on stubborn machinery, never on something alive. He sets it on the snow beside him and waits again, giving the bear time to process the change. The wind shifts, carrying his scent away, and for a moment the bear's breathing eases just slightly. That change feels like permission, though he knows it is not. He inches the bar closer to the trap, stopping whenever the bear tenses, resuming only when the tension fades. This back and forth becomes their language, a negotiation without words.
His fingers burn with cold now, even through gloves, and he flexes them carefully, aware that numbness leads to mistakes. He thinks about how long the bear has been here. Hours, maybe longer, standing, waiting, hurting, unsure why pain arrived without warning. That thought grounds him. It reminds him why he stayed. He positions the bar under the spring mechanism, recalling how pressure must be applied evenly, steadily, without jerking. He knows if the bar slips, the trap could snap harder or release too suddenly, turning confusion into chaos. He takes a breath and applies gentle pressure, testing resistance rather than forcing it. The trap does not move. The bear reacts instantly, muscles tightening, a low sound vibrating in its chest. The man stops. He does not pull away this time, but he does not push further. He holds the position, letting the bear see that nothing worse is coming yet. Seconds pass. The growl fades into breathing again. Snowflakes land on the bear's nose and melt. The man eases the pressure back, resets his grip, and tries again, just a fraction more. The metal shifts slightly, almost imperceptibly, but enough to tell him it can be done. That realization brings a careful kind of hope, restrained and quiet, because hope can make hands careless if allowed to grow too fast. He works in small increments, each one followed by stillness, listening to the sounds between them. His arms begin to tremble, not from fear now, but from strain. The trap resists, stubborn and unforgiving, and he understands why it was designed this way. He adjusts the angle, using his knee to brace, aware of how exposed that makes him if things turn suddenly. The bear watches every movement, eyes sharp, body coiled. There is no trust here, only tolerance, thin and conditional. He respects that. He would expect nothing less if the roles were reversed. At one point, the bar slips, scraping loudly against metal. The sound echoes through the trees. The bear jerks, snow flying, jaws clamping tighter with a sharp clack. Pain flashes across its face, unmistakable even without sound. The man flinches, heart sinking, knowing he had made things worse, even briefly. He pulls back fully this time, raising his hands, lowering his gaze, giving space. He waits, forcing himself not to speak, not to move, letting the moment settle. The bear pants, chest heaving, then slowly stills again, though its eyes are harder now, the warning clearer. The man considers stopping. He thinks about retreating, about the risk increasing with every attempt, about how close he is to the bear's reach. He imagines explaining this moment later, the reasons, the fear, the calculation. None of it feels sufficient. He looks at the trap again, at the way the metal cuts into the earth, at how final it feels when closed. He knows leaving would mean the bear will not survive long, not like this. Cold and exhaustion would do what the trap started. That knowledge presses down on him, heavier than fear. He shifts his strategy. Instead of forcing the spring, he looks for another option, another angle. He notices a pin partially buried under ice, something he missed before. It is small, but it could change everything if loosened. Reaching it would require getting closer, much closer, into the bear's immediate space. He hesitates, measuring the distance, the reaction time, the risk. The bear lifts his head again, as if sensing the change in his intent. Their eyes meet, not in understanding, but in shared tension. He moves slowly, one hand extended, stopping when the bear stiffens, continuing only when it settles again. The distance between them shrinks to something fragile and dangerous. Snow continues to fall, thicker now, softening sound, blurring edges. The world narrows to the space between his hand and the trap, between the bear's breath and his own. He can feel his pulse in his throat as his fingers brush the frozen metal near the pin. He pauses there, not yet touching it, aware that this next move could decide everything. The bear shifts its weight again, subtly, and the man freezes, suspended in that moment, uncertain whether to continue or pull back, knowing that whichever choice he makes, there will be no easy way out from here.
The man keeps his hand still, fingers hovering just above the ice-coated pin, waiting for the bear's body to settle again. The bear's breathing is loud in the quiet forest, each exhale a cloud that drifts and disappears. Slowly, the tension in its shoulders eases by a fraction. It is not calm, but it is no longer escalating. The man takes that as his only signal to continue. He presses his fingertips to the metal, feeling the cold bite through his gloves, and tests the pin with a careful twist. It does not budge. Ice has sealed it in place. He withdraws his hand slightly, then brings it back, this time using the edge of the tool to chip away at the ice. Each tap is light, controlled, barely more than a touch, but the sound carries. The bear flinches at the first strike, then watches, eyes narrowing, trying to understand the new movement. The man pauses between each tap, letting the rhythm slow the moment instead of speeding it up. He is acutely aware of how close he is now, within a few feet of the bear's head, close enough to see individual strands of fur, to notice the way frost clings unevenly along its muzzle. He keeps his body angled, not facing the bear directly, a posture meant to reduce threat. His knees ache from the cold, and his back burns from holding tension for too long, but he does not shift. Any sudden adjustment could be misread. He focuses on the task, on the small circle of metal beneath his hands, blocking out everything else. The ice begins to crack, tiny fractures spreading like veins. The pin loosens just enough to move a fraction of an inch. That small success feels enormous, but he does not allow himself to celebrate it. He knows how quickly progress can be undone. He works the pin slowly, back and forth, easing it free millimeter by millimeter. The bear growls again, low and strained, reacting to the sound more than the pain now. The man stops, waiting for the sound to fade, reminding himself that stopping is not failure here, it is survival. As the pin loosens further, the trap shifts slightly, redistributing pressure. The bear reacts instantly, pulling its trapped paw back in a reflexive attempt to escape. The movement sends a shock through the mechanism, and the man jerks his hands away just in time. The trap holds, but the sudden motion brings them both back to the edge of chaos. Snow sprays, the bear snorts, head swinging toward him, teeth bared for the first time. The man freezes, heart pounding so hard he feels dizzy. He lowers his gaze, making himself smaller, waiting for the moment to pass. It stretches on, heavy and uncertain, until the bear's head slowly turns away again, focus returning to the pain in its paw rather than the human nearby.
When the tension releases, the man exhales a breath he did not realize he was holding. His hands are shaking now, adrenaline cutting through the cold. He presses his palms into the snow to steady them, grounding himself in the physical world. He considers backing off, giving the bear space again, but he knows he is close, closer than he has been since this began. The pin is almost free. He decides to continue, but with even more care. He shifts his position slightly, changing the angle so he can work without leaning further into the bear's space. He resumes, gripping the pin with the tool and applying slow, steady pressure. It resists, then finally gives way with a soft metallic sound that seems impossibly loud. The pin slides free and drops into the snow. For a moment, nothing happens. The man stays perfectly still, unsure if the trap will react, unsure if he has made things better or worse. The bear stiffens, sensing the change, but does not move. The mechanism remains closed, but the spring tension is different now, reduced. The man recognizes the opportunity, fleeting and fragile. He repositions the bar under the spring again, careful not to rush. This time, when he applies pressure, the resistance is less severe. The metal shifts more willingly, though it still demands strength. His arms strain, muscles burning, but he holds steady, increasing pressure gradually. The jaws of the trap begin to separate, slowly, reluctantly, a fraction at a time. The bear reacts with confusion now, rather than panic, lifting its head, testing the new space with a tentative movement. The man speaks softly again, not to reassure the bear, but to regulate his own breathing, to keep the moment from tipping over into urgency. As the jaws open wider, the bear pulls back again, instinct pushing it to flee. The man anticipates this and eases the pressure slightly, preventing a sudden release that could cause injury. He adjusts, finding a balance between opening the trap and controlling the speed. It is exhausting work, both physically and mentally. Sweat trickles down his spine despite the cold. His focus narrows to the metal, the paw, the space between them. The forest feels distant now, the falling snow barely noticed. Finally, the opening is wide enough. The bear hesitates, unsure, paw trembling as it tests the gap. The man holds the bar steady, every muscle engaged, knowing he cannot maintain this position for long. The bear pulls once, then again, and on the second attempt, its paw slides free. The sudden absence of resistance nearly sends the man sprawling as the trap snaps open fully, metal clanging against the snow. He stumbles back, dropping the bar, heart racing, eyes locked on the bear. For a split second, everything is still. The bear stands there, free paw held awkwardly, body poised between flight and confrontation. The man does not move. He does not speak. He simply waits, aware that freedom does not guarantee safety, that pain and fear can still turn this moment in any direction. The bear lowers its paw slowly, testing its weight, then looks at him again. There is no gratitude there, no understanding, just a raw, searching awareness. The bear takes one cautious step back, then another, not running yet, as if uncertain what comes next. The man remains frozen, knowing the story is not finished, not yet.
The bear shifts its weight fully onto all four paws, standing now without the restraint that held it for so long. It sways slightly, adjusting, learning its balance again. The man watches every movement, ready to retreat if the bear decides to close the distance instead of widening it. His body aches from holding tension for so long, but he does not relax yet. He knows this moment is still dangerous.
The trap lies open in the snow between them, silent now, as if it were never more than a piece of scrap metal. The bear sniffs the air, head low, ears turning, gathering information about its surroundings, about him. Snow continues to fall, softening the scene, covering the disturbed ground, inch by inch. The bear takes another step back, then pauses. Its gaze returns to the man, dark and steady. He does not interpret it as curiosity or threat, only awareness. He keeps his eyes soft, unfocused, not challenging, not inviting. His hands remain visible at his sides, empty. He resists the urge to shift his weight or straighten his posture. Even relief feels dangerous right now. The bear lifts its freed paw and sets it down again, more confidently this time. There is a slight hitch in its movement, but it holds. The man notes it silently, aware that the injury is there, but also aware that survival does not require perfection, only enough strength to keep moving. Time stretches again, not with fear this time, but with uncertainty. The man wonders if the bear will bolt or if it will stand its ground, confused by the absence of pain, the absence of pursuit. The forest remains quiet, holding its breath. He can hear his own heartbeat again, slower now, steadier. He feels the cold more clearly, the numbness in his fingers, the stiffness in his legs. The intensity that carried him through the rescue begins to fade, replaced by a deep, quiet exhaustion. Still, he does not move. The bear turns its head slightly, listening. Somewhere deeper in the trees, a branch snaps, distant and faint. The bear's body tenses in response, instinct alerting it to other presences in the forest. This is familiar territory again, a world of sounds and signals it understands. The man realizes this may be the moment it chooses to leave. He feels a strange mix of relief and loss at the thought. He did not come here for recognition, but now that the danger is passing, the connection he felt, however brief, feels fragile, already slipping away. The bear takes a few more steps back, then stops and lowers its head toward the snow where the trap lies open. It sniffs the metal briefly, a short, dismissive inspection, then turns away from it. That small gesture feels significant, though the man cannot say why. The bear begins to move toward the trees, slow at first, testing each step, then gradually more fluid. It does not run. It does not look back immediately. The man allows himself a shallow breath, shoulders sagging slightly as the distance between them grows. When the bear reaches the edge of the clearing, it stops again. Its back is to the man now, broad and solid against the falling snow. For a moment, the man wonders if it will disappear without another glance, leaving this encounter as a one-sided memory. Then the bear turns its head just enough for one eye to be visible. The look is brief, neutral, impossible to interpret. It lingers for a second, then the bear turns fully away and moves into the trees, branches closing around its shape until it is gone.
The forest feels suddenly larger, emptier. The man remains where he is long after the bear has vanished, letting the quiet return. His hands begin to shake now that the immediate danger has passed, the delayed release of adrenaline. He sits down heavily in the snow, not caring about the cold soaking into his clothes. He looks at the open trap again, at the scar it left in the ground, and feels a weight settle in his chest, a mix of relief, sadness, and something harder to name. He gathers the trap carefully, using the tool to keep it from snapping again, and drags it away from where the bear stood. He knows he should take it with him, report it, make sure it cannot harm anything else. The practical steps feel grounding, something he can control now. As he works, he replays the encounter in his mind, each decision, each pause, wondering how close he came to failure. He knows how easily this could have ended differently, how thin the margin was. The cold seeps deeper as the light begins to fade, clouds thickening overhead. The man packs his tools slowly, methodically, movements stiff and tired. He glances once more toward the trees where the bear disappeared, half expecting it to see it again, though he knows that is unlikely. The forest offers no sign, just snow, branches, and silence. He stands up carefully, joints protesting, and prepares to leave the clearing. As he takes his first step away, he feels a quiet shift inside himself. Not pride, not triumph, but a subdued understanding of how small he was in that moment and how much had been at stake. The bear is gone now, carrying its pain and its survival back into the woods. The man carries the memory, the weight of what almost happened, and the knowledge that some choices, once made, leave marks long after the snow has melted. He walks on, leaving the clearing behind, unaware that this encounter will continue to shape how he thinks about risk, responsibility, and the fragile line between them in the wild. The walk back through the forest feels longer than the walk in, each step heavier now that the urgency is gone. The man moves slowly, careful on the uneven ground, aware of how fatigue dulls judgment. His legs ache and his hands throb as warmth slowly returns, bringing a deep, stinging pain with it. He welcomes it anyway. Pain means circulation, and circulation means he is still present, still capable of getting out of here. Snow continues to fall, thick enough now to soften his tracks behind him, erasing evidence of his passage as if the forest is already reclaiming the moment. He pauses once, leaning against a tree, closing his eyes briefly to steady himself. When he opens them, the woods look the same as they always have. No sign remains of what happened minutes ago. As he moves, doubt begins to creep in, quiet but persistent. He wonders if the bear will truly be able to move well enough to survive, if the injury he saw was smaller than it felt or worse than it looked. He replays the moment when the paw came free, searching his memory for missed signs, for details he overlooked in the intensity of the release. He knows this questioning is inevitable, the mind's way of trying to regain control after something unpredictable. Still, it weighs on him. He reminds himself that leaving the bear trapped would have guaranteed a slow end. What comes next is uncertain, but it is at least a chance.
The forest offers no answers. Wind moves through the branches, sending snow drifting down in soft curtains. Somewhere in the distance, a bird calls, the sound sharp and brief against the muted landscape. Life continues here, indifferent to his thoughts. That indifference is oddly comforting. It suggests that what happened does not need interpretation or meaning to exist. It simply happened. He adjusts his pack, feeling its familiar weight settle against his back, and continues on. As he walks, his awareness expands again, taking in the rhythm of his steps, the crunch of snow beneath his boots, the steady pattern of his breathing. The intensity that narrowed his focus earlier has loosened its grip, leaving space for reflection. He thinks about how close he came to turning back at the start, how easily fear could have won. He does not judge that impulse now. He understands it better. Fear kept him cautious, deliberate. It slowed him down when speed would have been dangerous. The line between fear and courage feels thinner now, less defined.
He reaches a small rise and stops again, turning back to look the way he came. The clearing is no longer visible, hidden by trees and falling snow. The bear could be anywhere now, moving deeper into the forest, or resting, or struggling forward one careful step at a time. He will never know. The not knowing settles over him, heavy but familiar. Many things worth doing end this way, without closure, without confirmation. He accepts that, even if part of him resists it. The cold deepens as daylight fades, the sky shifting toward a flat, gray dusk. He knows he needs to keep moving if he wants to reach the road before dark. His body protests, but it obeys. Each step carries him farther from the encounter, though the memory stays close. He notices how alert he still feels, how every sound draws his attention. A snapped twig makes his muscles tense automatically. He smiles faintly at that, recognizing the lingering echo of adrenaline. It will take time to fade. At one point, he comes across a set of tracks crossing his path, fresh and deep. He stops, crouching to look at them more closely. They are large, unmistakable, the bear's tracks. His chest tightens as he follows them with his eyes, noting the spacing, the depth of each impression. One print is lighter than the others, just slightly. He exhales slowly. The bear is moving. That is all the information the tracks offer, but it is enough for now. He stands again, careful not to follow, respectful of the distance that now exists between them. The rest of the journey passes in quiet concentration. He navigates familiar landmarks, a fallen log, a narrow stream now frozen at the edges, a bend in the trail where the trees thin briefly. Each marker feels reassuring, a reminder that he is not lost, that there is a way out. His thoughts drift back and forth between the present and the clearing, between the simple mechanics of walking and the complex emotions left behind. He feels relief, yes, but also a subdued sorrow, a recognition of how much suffering exists unseen, how easily it can be hidden by distance and snow. When he finally reaches the edge of the forest and sees the faint outline of the road ahead, he stops once more. He turns back toward the trees, though he knows there is nothing to see. The forest stands quiet and still, offering no acknowledgement of what was taken from it or given back. He feels no urge to speak, no need to mark the moment. He simply stands there, breathing in the cold air, letting the experience settle into him without trying to shape it into a story. As darkness begins to close in, he turns away and heads toward the road, boots crunching steadily, mind still restless. He knows the images will return later, in fragments, in dreams, in sudden moments of stillness. He knows questions will linger unresolved. Did I do enough? Did I do it right? There will be no clear answers. The forest does not offer them. All it offers is continuation. Somewhere behind him, the bear continues too, carrying its own version of this day forward into the long winter night.
Later that night, the man sits alone at his kitchen table, boots drying by the door, jacket draped over a chair. The quiet of the house pressing in around him. The warmth feels almost unreal after the cold, like stepping into a different life. His hands are wrapped around a mug he barely tastes, fingers still stiff, knuckles raw. The room is dim, lit by a single lamp, shadows soft against familiar walls. He should feel finished, but his body has not caught up to the day yet. Every time he closes his eyes, he sees the clearing again, the trap in the snow, the bear's eyes, the slow release of pressure. He opens his eyes and stares at the table, grounding himself in the present. He knows sleep will be difficult. Experience has taught him that moments like this linger, not as sharp fear,
but as quiet repetition. His mind keeps returning to the same question, circling it without resolution. Did he misjudge anything? The slight hitch in the bear's step plays over and over, magnified now that the immediate danger is gone. In the forest, there was no space for doubt. Here, in safety, it grows easily. He reminds himself again of the tracks he saw, the depth of the prints, the direction of travel. Movement meant life. Still, the uncertainty remains, settling into the corners of his thoughts. He stands and rinses the mug, listening to the sound of water, focusing on the ordinary rhythm of it. Ordinary actions help re-establish balance. He moves slowly, aware of how tired he is, how deep the fatigue runs. It is not just physical, it is the exhaustion that comes after holding responsibility for something fragile, something that could not ask for help and could not understand it either. He leans against the counter for a moment, eyes closed, breathing evenly. The image of the bear lifting its freed paw returns, but this time it is less sharp, less urgent. Outside, the wind picks up, rattling the window faintly. He looks out into the dark yard, snow drifting under the porch light. Somewhere beyond the trees and roads and fences, the forest continues as it always has. The bear is part of that world, not this one. The separation feels important now. He did not bring the bear with him. He did not cross that line. He intervened and stepped back. That thought brings a small measure of relief, though it does not quiet everything. He changes into dry clothes and sits again, this time with a notebook he keeps tucked in a drawer. He does not always write, but sometimes putting things down on paper helps contain them. He does not describe the event in detail. Instead, he writes a few simple lines: the weather, the location, the presence of an illegal trap, the fact that the animal was freed and able to move away. He keeps the language factual, restrained. He knows this record may matter later if authorities follow up, if questions are asked. For now, it serves another purpose. It anchors the experience in reality, not memory alone. As he writes, he notices his hand steadying. The act of recording shifts the weight slightly, distributing it. He pauses, pen hovering, then adds one more line about the tracks he saw on the way out. He does not speculate beyond that. Speculation leads nowhere useful. He closes the notebook and sets it aside. The room feels quieter after that, as if something has been set down. He moves to the couch and sits, listening to the low hum of the house. The hours stretch ahead of him, empty and open. He knows sleep will come eventually, but not yet. His body is still unwinding, releasing the tension it held for so long. He lets it happen without rushing it. He thinks about how the bear did not run immediately, how it stood there, testing the ground, as if recalibrating its understanding of the world. That image stays with him, not because it was dramatic, but because it was so measured. Survival, he realizes, often looks like that. Careful, uncertain, deliberate.
The doubt returns again, softer this time. He wonders if he should have stayed longer, watched from a distance, confirmed the bear's movement more clearly. He also knows why he did not. Staying would have increased risk for both of them. Intervening does not mean controlling the outcome. He reminds himself of that. He did what he could within the moment he had. The rest belongs to the bear and the forest now. As the night deepens, his thoughts begin to slow. The sharp edges of the day blur slightly, smoothing into something more manageable. He stretches out on the couch, eyes open, watching shadows shift as clouds pass over the moon. He thinks about how easily the trap could have remained hidden, how many times he has walked through similar areas without seeing what lies beneath the snow. The realization is unsettling, but it also sharpens his awareness. The world is full of things that persist unnoticed,
both harmful and fragile. Eventually, his eyes close. Sleep comes in fragments at first, shallow and interrupted. Images surface and fade. A creak of metal, the sound of breath in cold air, a pause that stretches too long. Each time he wakes, the house is still, unchanged. Gradually, the intervals of sleep lengthen. His body finally begins to rest. Sometime before morning, he dreams of the forest, not as it was in the clearing, but as a wide, open expanse. There is no trap in the dream, no urgency, just movement through trees, slow and steady. When he wakes again, early light filtering through the window, the dream lingers briefly before dissolving. He sits up and listens. The world feels quieter inside him now, though not resolved. He knows that later, perhaps days from now, he will hear news of traps found and removed, or perhaps nothing at all. He may never know what became of the bear beyond the tracks he saw. That uncertainty remains, but it no longer feels as heavy. It has shifted, becoming part of the larger pattern of things he cannot control. As he stands and begins the day, he carries the memory with him, not as a triumph, but as a responsibility that does not end neatly, and whose final shape he may never fully see. In the days that follow, the man returns to his routine, but the routine feels altered, as if a small adjustment has been made somewhere beneath the surface. He goes to work, runs errands, speaks with people who have no idea what happened in the woods. Their conversations move easily, touching on weather, schedules, ordinary concerns. He answers when spoken to, nods at the right moments, but part of his attention drifts back to the forest again and again. Not obsessively, not dramatically, just a quiet pull, like a tide that never fully recedes. He notices it most in moments of stillness, when there is nothing demanding his focus. On the second day, he makes a call to the local wildlife office. He reports the illegal trap, gives the location as precisely as he can, describes the model, the condition, the fact that it had been set recently. He keeps his tone calm and factual, the same way he wrote in his notebook. The call ends without ceremony. He sits with the phone in his hand for a moment afterward, aware that this, too, is part of the responsibility. Intervention does not end with a single act. It continues in quieter ways. That afternoon, snow begins to melt slightly as temperatures rise, revealing patches of dark ground beneath. The change in weather unsettles him more than he expects. Melt exposes things, tracks fade, evidence shifts. He wonders what the clearing looks like now, whether the trap left a mark that will linger after the snow is gone. He resists the urge to drive back immediately. He tells himself that space matters, that returning too soon would be about easing his own uncertainty rather than helping anything. Still, the thought stays with him. When he finally does return, several days later, it is not with urgency, but with a measured intent. He parks at the same place and walks in along the familiar path, noticing how different the forest feels without the weight of that immediate decision pressing on him. The air is quieter in a different way now, less tense, though he knows that is his perception, not a property of the woods themselves. He moves slowly, scanning the ground, aware of how easily signs can be missed. When he reaches the clearing, he stops at the edge, taking it in.
The trap is gone. In its place, there is only disturbed earth, partially refrozen, partially softened by thaw. Snow has melted unevenly here, revealing the compressed ground where the bear stood, where he knelt, where metal scraped against ice. He crouches and looks closely, reading the ground the way he did before. Tracks lead away from the spot, faint now, softened by time and weather, but still visible if you know how to look. They move toward the trees, spacing uneven at first, then gradually more consistent. He follows them with his eyes until they disappear into the forest. He feels a quiet release at that, though he does not label it as relief. It is more like a loosening, a confirmation that movement continued beyond that moment. He knows this does not guarantee anything beyond that. Bears face countless risks, especially in winter. Still, the tracks matter. They are a continuation. He stands again, stretching his stiff legs, and takes a slow breath. The clearing feels ordinary now, stripped of the intensity it once held. That ordinariness feels earned. He notices other signs too. Smaller tracks crossing the bear's path, a bird's wing marks in the snow. Life layering over life, indifferent to the story he carries with him. The forest does not pause to honor moments like the one he experienced. It absorbs them and moves on. That realization brings a strange comfort. It suggests that intervention does not disrupt the natural order as much as it temporarily redirects a single thread within it. As he turns to leave, he hears a sound deeper in the trees. It is not close enough to identify clearly, but it is heavy, deliberate. He stops, listening. The sound fades, replaced by wind. He does not try to follow it or interpret it. He knows better now than to search for confirmation in every noise. He continues on, aware of his surroundings, but not tense. The forest feels less like a test today, and more like a place again. On the walk back, he reflects on how the experience has shifted something subtle in him. He is more attentive now, not just in the woods, but elsewhere too. He notices details he might have overlooked before. A broken fence line, a piece of trash caught in brush, small signs of human presence in places meant to be quiet. He does not feel anger about it, just awareness. Awareness carries its own weight, but also its own clarity. That evening, he speaks about the encounter for the first time, briefly, to someone he trusts. He does not embellish it. He does not frame it as a story with a clear arc. He simply describes what happened, what he did, what he doesn't know. The person listens, asks a few questions, then sits with the silence that follows. There is no attempt to extract a lesson from it, no need to resolve it into something neat. The simplicity of that exchange feels right. In the days that follow, the memory begins to settle into a different place. It is no longer at the forefront of his thoughts, but it is not gone either. It surfaces occasionally, prompted by cold air, by the sight of snow on metal, by the sound of wind through trees. Each time, it feels a little less sharp, a little more integrated. He understands now that connection does not always come with closeness or ongoing contact. Sometimes it is defined by a single moment of shared vulnerability, followed by distance. He does not seek out another encounter. He does not feel compelled to repeat the experience or to define himself by it. What remains is quieter than that. A heightened respect for the unpredictability of wild spaces, a clearer sense of where his responsibility begins and ends. He knows next time, if there is a next time, fear will still be there, doubt will still arise. But he also knows that patience, restraint, and attention can hold more power than urgency. As winter continues, the forest changes again. Snow deepens, trails shift. What happened in that clearing becomes just one of many events layered into the landscape's history. For the man, it becomes something similar, not a defining moment, but a shaping one. A reminder that intervention, when it comes, is rarely clean or complete, and that connection does not require understanding to be real. Somewhere beyond his sight, the bear continues its life, shaped in its own way by pain, release, and the long work of moving forward, one careful step at a time.
As winter presses on, the man finds himself paying closer attention to news from the region, though he does not seek it out deliberately. Mentions of wildlife crossings, conservation updates, reports of snow depth or late storms catch his eye more than they used to. None of it references the bear, of course. He does not expect it to. Still, each small piece of information helps him situate that day within a larger context, one that stretches beyond a single encounter. The forest is not a closed chapter. It is an ongoing system, and he was present in it briefly, nothing more. One morning, weeks later, he meets a local ranger at a supply store. They recognize each other vaguely, the way people in small regions often do. Their conversation drifts naturally toward winter conditions, then toward illegal trapping. The ranger mentions a recent sweep that uncovered several old devices, some rusted beyond use, others disturbingly intact. The man listens, careful not to interrupt. When the ranger mentions finding signs that an animal escaped one trap on its own, leaving damaged ground and tracks leading away, the man feels a quiet tightening in his chest. He does not ask questions. He does not confirm anything. He simply listens and nods, absorbing the information without attaching certainty to it. Afterward, as he drives home, the road winding through snow-lined trees, he allows himself a small measure of relief. Not the kind that resolves everything, but the kind that acknowledges continuation. The bear's survival is not guaranteed by a rumor or a sign, but the idea that an animal moved on its own terms, even briefly, feels aligned with what he hoped for. He keeps his eyes on the road, aware of how easily hope can drift into assumption. Still, the weight he has been carrying lightens just slightly. The season moves forward in subtle ways. Days lengthen almost imperceptibly. Snowbanks shrink, then grow again after late storms. The man's life follows its familiar rhythms, but the forest remains present in his thoughts, not as an obsession, but as a reference point. When he walks trails closer to town, he notices his pace is slower now. He stops more often. He listens. He's less inclined to fill silence with noise. These changes are small enough that no one else comments on them, but he feels them clearly. On one of these walks, he comes across a damaged fence line near the edge of a wooded area. Wire is bent, posts leaning. The break looks recent. He studies it for a moment, considering the likely cause. Deer, perhaps, or something larger. He notes the direction of the disturbance and makes a mental note to report it. The act feels natural now, not driven by urgency, but by awareness. He does not feel responsible for fixing everything. He understands that responsibility can be shared, distributed, passed along. At home, he spends time repairing tools, cleaning gear, maintaining the simple equipment that allows him to move through cold environments safely. As he works, his hands remember the strain of holding the trap open, the careful balance required to avoid sudden movement. He adjusts his grip unconsciously, refining it, as if preparing for a task that may never come. He recognizes this as a way of processing, of integrating the experience into muscle memory rather than memory alone. It feels grounding. Occasionally, he catches himself imagining the bear, not in dramatic terms, but in ordinary ones. He imagines it moving through familiar routes, following scent trails, digging for food beneath snow, resting when it needs to. He does not imagine it as healed or unscarred. He imagines it adapting, compensating, doing what wild animals have always done. These images are not fantasies of rescue or reunion. They are quiet acknowledgments of parallel lives intersecting once and then diverging.
The doubt that once pressed heavily on him now surfaces less frequently. When it does, it is easier to hold. He understands now that doubt does not always signal failure. Sometimes it signals care. He cared enough to question his actions, to replay them, to consider alternatives. That care did not disappear when the immediate danger passed. It simply changed shape. He no longer feels the need to justify his decision to himself. He knows why he stayed that day. He knows why he acted. The rest lies beyond his reach. As spring approaches, the snow line retreats higher into the hills. Trails reopen. Signs of winter hardship linger in broken branches and scarred ground. On one early spring hike, he passes near the clearing again, though he does not stop this time. He glances toward it briefly, then continues on. The place no longer pulls at him the way it once did. It has settled into the landscape, just another patch of forest with its own history, most of it unseen. He notices, too, how his perception of risk has shifted. He's no less cautious than before, but his caution is more informed. He understands more clearly how quickly situations can escalate, how little margin for error exists when working close to wild animals or harsh conditions. This understanding does not make him fearful, it makes him attentive. He prepares more thoroughly. He plans his routes with greater care. He carries tools not as symbols of readiness, but as practical extensions of responsibility.
In conversations with others who spend time outdoors, he listens differently now. When someone mentions a close call or an unexpected encounter, he does not interrupt with advice or judgment. He lets them speak. He knows that each encounter carries its own context, its own set of decisions made in seconds that cannot be fully explained afterward. He offers help when asked. Otherwise, he respects the complexity of those moments and the silence that often follows them. The memory of the bear remains, but it no longer arrives with a surge of adrenaline or fear. It comes quietly, often triggered by sensory details rather than thoughts. The sound of metal contracting in cold air, the sight of frost on dark fur in a photograph, the weight of snow settling on branches. Each time, he acknowledges it and lets it pass. The experience has found its place, woven into his understanding of the world, rather than standing apart from it. He does not expect gratitude from the forest or from the animal. That expectation never existed. What he feels instead is a subdued connection, not personal or emotional in the way stories often describe, but situational and grounded. Two lives crossed paths under specific conditions, influenced by choices made long before either of them arrived. One life intervened briefly, the other continued. That is all. As the ground thaws and the forest shifts again, the man feels a sense of quiet alignment, not closure, but acceptance. He understands now that relief does not always come as a single moment of certainty. Sometimes it arrives gradually, through small confirmations, through the easing of doubt, through the simple fact of moving forward. Somewhere out there, the forest continues to change, and within it, the bear's path unfolds in ways he will never witness. And that, finally, feels enough. As the year turns fully toward spring, the man notices how the forest sheds its quiet severity and replaces it with movement and sound. Snowmelt feeds streams, branches drip steadily, and the air carries the smell of wet earth. With these changes comes a subtle shift inside him as well. The memory of the bear no longer feels anchored to cold and danger alone. It begins to exist alongside these softer signs of renewal, not replacing what happened, but reframing it. He understands now that the moment in the clearing was not isolated from the larger cycle around it. It was part of a season, a transition, one point along a long and complicated line of survival. On a late afternoon walk, he pauses near a creek swollen with runoff, watching water push past rocks that were buried months earlier. The persistence of it holds his attention. It moves around obstacles rather than through them, reshaping its path without stopping. The image stays with him. He thinks again of the bear adjusting its weight, testing the ground after the trap released. The comparison is quiet, unspoken, but it resonates. Adaptation does not announce itself. It happens in small, repeated decisions that rarely look dramatic from the outside. He realizes that his own life has adjusted in similar ways since that day, not through bold changes or declarations, but through a series of small recalibrations. He checks his surroundings more carefully. He pauses before acting. He allows space for uncertainty rather than rushing to resolve it. These habits have begun to feel natural, integrated rather than imposed. He does not trace them consciously back to the clearing every time, but he knows where they began.
There are moments when he catches himself scanning the forest with a particular attentiveness, not searching for the bear, but aware of how easily something significant can exist just beyond sight. He understands now that most of what matters in wild places remains unseen. Tracks fade, sounds blend, lives intersect briefly and then move apart. The desire to witness outcomes, to confirm endings, feels less urgent to him. He has come to accept that absence of knowledge does not always mean absence of meaning. One evening, as light stretches later into the day, he sits outside and listens to birds calling from the trees near his home. Their presence feels almost intrusive after the long quiet of winter, but also reassuring. He thinks about how quickly life fills available space when conditions allow it. The forest does not hold on to suffering any longer than it must. It responds to opportunity, to warmth, to time. This realization does not erase what happened in the cold, but it places it within a broader rhythm that feels steadier than fear. He remembers the bear's stillness in the clearing, the way it paused even after the trap released, as if recalibrating its understanding of the world. That pause stands out to him now more than the danger ever did. It was a moment of assessment, of adjustment. He sees something of himself in that now, not as a parallel life, but as a shared condition. Both of them encountered something sudden and harmful. Both responded without understanding the full context. Both moved forward anyway, carrying the effects with them. The thought does not sentimentalize the bear or elevate the encounter beyond what it was. It simply acknowledges a shared vulnerability to circumstance. He recognizes how thin the line is between routine and crisis, between passing through a place and being caught in it. This awareness makes him more careful, but also more patient with himself and with others. He has seen how quickly judgment can become irrelevant in moments that demand presence rather than certainty. Occasionally, someone asks him why he spends so much time alone outdoors. He struggles to answer clearly. He knows now that it is not about escape or challenge. It is about proximity, being close enough to see consequences, to feel the weight of decisions, to understand how little control there truly is. The forest does not offer clarity in the way people expect. It offers exposure to weather, to risk, to responsibility. This realization does not erase what happened in the cold, but it places it within a broader rhythm that feels steadier than fear. He knows now that he will likely never encounter that bear again, and that even if he did, there would be no recognition, no acknowledgement. The bear would be another animal moving through its territory, responding to scent and sound, not memory. That thought does not disappoint him. It feels appropriate. The connection they shared did not require continuity to be real. It existed fully in the moment it occurred, defined by necessity rather than narrative. On a warm day, he finds himself back near the edge of the same forest, though not the same clearing. He sits on a fallen log, listening to insects hum in the grass, feeling the sun on his face. The woods look different now, open and alive in ways winter concealed. He feels no urge to search for signs of the past, He is content to be present where he is, aware of where he has been, without needing to connect the two explicitly. The experience has left him with a quieter kind of respect for unpredictability, not the dramatic kind that fuels stories, but the everyday kind that informs how one moves through the world. He understands that risk cannot be eliminated, only navigated, that help can be offered without guarantees, that outcomes belong ultimately to forces larger than intention alone. As he stands to leave, brushing dirt from his hands, he feels a sense of calm that surprises him. Not because everything is resolved, but because it no longer needs to be. The memory of the bear exists now as part of a larger understanding, one that does not demand repetition or validation. It simply exists, settled into him like a landmark he passes without stopping, aware of its presence without being drawn back to it. He walks away slowly, not thinking about endings or conclusions, but about continuity, about how lives intersect briefly and then move on, shaped but not defined by those moments. Somewhere beyond the trees, beyond his sight and knowledge, the bear's path continues, influenced by countless variables he will never see. And as he moves forward into the changing season, he carries with him the quiet knowledge that sometimes doing what you can and stepping back is not only enough, but necessary, even when the full outcome remains just out of reach.
He stands at the edge of the forest one last time, late afternoon sunlight filtering through branches, casting long shadows on the melting snow. The air is warmer now, carrying the faint scent of earth and thawing leaves, but there is still a crispness that reminds him of the day he knelt in the clearing, hands trembling over steel and fur. He takes a deep breath, letting it fill his lungs, noticing how steady his heartbeat is compared to that first encounter. For a long moment, he simply watches the trees, listening to the quiet rhythm of the forest around him, wind brushing against bark, a distant bird calling, the faint trickle of a stream running beneath snow. The clearing feels empty, yet full at the same time, holding only traces of what happened, small marks in the earth that speak of survival, care, and chance. He thinks of the bear, of its slow, deliberate movements as it left the trap behind, its life continuing unseen, untracked, untold. There is no sense of ownership in that thought, no satisfaction of victory, only recognition. Two lives intersected briefly, and both carried forward. He closes his eyes and feels a quiet warmth, a calm acceptance that the forest, the bear, and he himself will all continue in their own ways, shaped by that single moment, but not defined by it. The sun dips lower, and he turns to walk back along the trail, boots pressing softly into thawing snow, carrying with him the memory, not as a story to be told, but as a quiet understanding of fragility, courage, and the subtle, enduring presence of life moving on, beyond his sight, beyond his control, yet never absent from his awareness. The forest remains still behind him, indifferent yet alive, and he steps forward with the slow certainty that comes from knowing he acted when it mattered, leaving space for the world and the bear to continue as it must.